Okay, so we're talking about fucking society and then the revolution and everything, and this is something that I was talking about recently with a friend of mine, and we were talking about like, well, what is a way that we can change society? So one of my strong arguments has been, in order to change society, like I said earlier, it can't really be done through laws. I mean, laws will be part of it, but laws will come after the cultural shift. And so I think in order for us to change the culture, we have to change the kind of information that is being disseminated to people. We need to change the kind of information diet that people are receiving. And getting it from 6 companies that own all the mainstream media is not going to be a way to do that, okay? You're not going to get what you need from those things. That's like eating fast food, okay? Eating fast food is not going to... It'll fill you up, but with garbage. And mainstream media is basically fast food at this point. It's, short 3-minute segments. Like, the debates are a fucking joke. Like, you can't actually have thoughtful policy discussion in 30 seconds while somebody's trying to yell over you. It's fucking stupid. The whole format's dumb. And you have things like that. And then we have things like podcasts where you can have a long, thoughtful discussion, a fucking 2-hour, 3-hour podcast that really delves into the minutia of something if somebody really wanted to learn about it. And I think that is powerful. That is part of the fucking revolution. So I think podcasting is a huge part, just as a format. I think it'll be a game changer for the culture. I also believe that obviously psychedelics are a huge part, because that is something that can literally transform the inside of somebody and allow them to then project that out on the outer world. The concept of ontological design, something that I've talked about certainly a number of times, is something that was introduced to me by Jason Silva, because he talked about it in one of his Shots of Awe. And I was like, damn, I never really thought about it like that, but that's awesome. And the idea is that I design my environment, and my environment designs me in return, and that everything is a co-creation. And that was a powerful thought, one that was amplified with the psychedelics for sure, because I thought about that concept deeply inside that, and you feel it differently. And that's something that I think not enough people know until you do psychedelics. Is like there's just this deep knowing that comes with it that makes cliches suddenly have magic, that makes sayings that sound hollow and like platitudes and everything, but they're not platitudes. You like understand what the platitude is trying to say. And that is huge. So that is a way to literally transform people's perspective, to allow people to be a little bit more open, to be more happy, to be more willing, to focus on the things that truly matter, and not just stacking up cash and equipment and things that they want. I think all of those things are, they're like false gods. You can chase them, and it's not even a bad thing to want things. There's nothing wrong with wanting things. It's just a matter of knowing what is a want versus a need. And then knowing that some things that you're going to want are not good for you. And so sometimes you're going to have to want things that are good for you in order to transform the life that you want to live. So I think that is a huge element to the cultural shift and to changing the culture. So we have information that we're taking in. We have psychedelics or meditation as ways of transforming the inner consciousness of every individual. And then having organized efforts using social media, the internet, protests, you name it, and taking these efforts and going exactly to the places in power that we need to. Society ultimately is controlled by a number of points of influence. And if you actually systematically just break down individual points, you don't have to take down the whole government to be able to do that. You can just poke at certain points that are pressure points that allow us to kind of take some of that power back. And so for me, political revolution is what I want to see. I want to see us take back the government from the corporations and give it back to the people. Literally start electing people who are only in it because they actually want to change things, rather than people who are in it so that they can get their cushy job and make some money and, maybe help the people a little bit, give them some crumbs, and then you keep the fucking the whole pie. So I think that all of those things are going to be extremely important in the next decade, if not the next like 2 decades. And I think we can slowly start taking back the power. I believe that we are in the second renaissance. I really do. I believe that this is going to be the second renaissance for human beings. I think that now, the time that we are in, the cultural shift that is happening, as I'm seeing it and as I'm feeling it, it's hard when you're in the wave, but I believe that this wave is happening. And you have some terrifying parts within that. But those parts are kind of necessary to grow. We need the conflict in order to level up and evolve and change. Because if everything was all peaches and roses, we probably wouldn't be changing too much, would we? So therefore, dealing with the difficulties of like the rise in white supremacy or the other, cultural problems that we're having within America here due to it being such a fucking melting pot, I believe that we can influence that to push us to the next level. We use these examples of hatred. We use Trump. Trump is like the perfect, he really couldn't be a better president from the standpoint of showing us exactly how shitty that position is, because he has managed to show us exactly what it's like to have somebody who isn't very good at hiding his intentions. We've had so many presidents that have been able to successfully con the American people into believing that they're doing the right thing. And Obama's one of those people. And I know that people love Obama. And I'm sorry for all the liberals that were with me up until right now. But he just wasn't that good of a president. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't that good. And he was basically he continued a lot of the policies that like George W. Bush had. He just was better at hiding it. And he was better at speaking to the people. And he certainly was a more thoughtful voice, after something like a mass shooting. The way that he talks, I'd rather would have that kind of president, somebody to be able to say the right things and make us feel better in a time of distress. And my heart goes out to all the families, by the way, that have been affected by that. It's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, the fact that we are still dealing with these shootings and we've become numb to it. I mean, I've just heard so many of them that it's just like, oh, just another mass shooting. Like, that shouldn't be normal. But a mass shooting doesn't occur without serious dysfunction in the society. People don't feel the need to go out and shoot people unless they are fucking just done. They're out. They're like out of options. They feel like they have no other choice. Now, how they get to the point where they feel like the only choice left is to shoot a bunch of innocent people, your guess is as good as mine. Part of it is them being fucking crazy. But why are they crazy? If we gave people a reasonable ability to live, wouldn't people just chill? Yeah, I feel like people are, lazy in that regard, that they would much rather, if they had a pretty decent situation, pretty decent setup, they're probably not going to go out of their way to do some horrible shit like that. And we've created this sick society that has made people depressed, and they don't even know why. It's because their purpose has been robbed from them, and then their ability to make money and to make a living off of any sort of job. I mean, that's another part. Like, if people feel like they can't provide, that is a level of desperation that I don't like being around. I don't like to see it. I don't want to see my fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters. I don't want to see them suffering like that. And maybe I'm just more compassionate than, the fucking people who are like, nah, I don't want to pay for anybody. But at the same time, I think that that's what's going to make a better society. And is utopia possible? Probably not. But is something like good enough, reasonable enough in that direction? Yes. I totally think that is possible. I do not think that it is irrational or unreasonable to ask of these things. I really don't. And I think that we are more than capable of accomplishing these things, especially as the United States of America. We got so many people and power and resources and intelligence and creativity in this country that you're going to tell me we can't tap into the potential of that and completely revamp how we live our lives here? I think we can. And I think we're seeing it. I think we're seeing a more mindful approach for people. I think we're seeing a shift in consciousness that is allowing people to be more mindful of what they're eating, to be more mindful of how they spend their time, being more educated about fitness and health, and we're learning all these things. These are the growing pains of society, and we are at a point now where things are changing so rapidly that it is difficult to really understand like the true nature of everything. But we can do it. We can so do it. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand why people don't want to make life better for people. I don't get it. You know what? I just can't fuck with you. I just can't. If you want people to continue to suffer because you just don't want to like deal with the responsibility of it, then I just don't like you. I just don't. I don't know. It's funny, when I started this podcast, I really was not intending to talk about this shit, but not that I wasn't intending to talk about it, but I guess not spend this much time on it.